Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We'll be monitoring the situation as regarding COVID-19 and the spread in Nigeria. And of course, we're looking at what the federal government is doing. Today, we can tell you that 11 more people have been discharged from the mainland hospital in Lagos, where some of those patients have been treated. 20 people in total that have been discharged today. Let's get some other thoughts and insight into what is happening to the world and, of course, Nigeria. Earlier on, I was speaking with Mr. Tope Fasuo, former presidential candidate of the NRP. Let's go to London now and speak with the senior pastor of Kingsway International Christian Center, a renowned author. Thank you so much, Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo, for joining us tonight on the program. Let me begin by asking you, of course, I know you are keeping safe and it's good to see you. Let me begin by asking you, how would you describe the ravaging pandemic, the coronavirus disease that's taken the world by surprise or by storm?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the program. Certainly, this has taken the world by surprise. I think in a lot of ways, it has humbled us as humans. We've reached the edge of technological advancement, medical advancement. In fact, we have almost totally become arrogant as if we are our own gods. And suddenly, an unseen enemy invaded our space and we are just shooting. In fact, I live in London. I had to quickly run in when I was in Africa just before Nigeria shut its airspace. I had to be here with my family. I was ready for the consequences because I cannot afford to stay away from my wife, my sons, my grandchildren, and above all, KICC. Being here at the epicenter of how Europe responds to it, all it has made me to see is that really, 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 the best of men are men at best. And we must realize that some things can happen that humbles us and makes us begin to begin to count our years, like Psalm 91 verse 12 will say. They teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom.
Do you believe that God is giving humankind compulsory holiday, as we have heard from some clergymen, and also some kind of reset in the world?
Firstly, I do not believe that the pandemic came from God. God will not use evil to punish his people. Everything about God is two-edged. There is the side of judgment, there is the side of love. But God will not use a pandemic of this magnitude, particularly the one which results in the shutting down of places of worship. I, on one hand, believe that this is essentially a virus which came out because something had crossed from one group to the other. But secondly, ultimately, there is someone behind all evil, which we see, which the Bible calls him Diabolos or Abaddon or Satan. I believe this is demonic. It comes from the pit of hell by its nature and the gravity of its impact on the whole of our planet. Lives being taken away every day. I live in London. People wake up every day like, oh, wow, I'm alive. I'm awake. Ultimately, though, when things like this happen, good comes out of a mess. God knows how to ride on the crest of the evil which Satan has poured into the world to bring forth his glory and his testimony. But God is not the author of coronavirus.
As a faith leader, of course, you get to speak with members, congregants, almost on a daily basis or every Sunday in the least, and you speak to hundreds of them. But now that kind of gathering has been forced into virtual space. What does this mean for you and perhaps for the household of faith around the world, perhaps generally in religious leaders across the world? What does this mean?
Well, you've got to understand this is not the first pandemic. In 1400, there was one that hit the whole of Europe and took 20 million people away. In 1700, there was another one that took away over 200 or 300,000. In the 1920s, there was the influenza, which swept across Europe. And in the 1929-30s, there was smallpox in the whole of Asia, the whole in West Africa, Central Africa, and Central America, and Nigeria was involved. In fact, it was so bad that many people thought it was some god that was doing it. When things like this happen, it changes. It completely makes one to discover his true value. I think when this is over, there will be a new church. Some churches might have to evolve or be swallowed up by some others. But listen, the world have used the word church in oftentimes the wrong way. The word church comes from the Greek kuriake, from which the Dutch got the word kerk, and from kerk we got church. Church is used in three ways. One, organizations, as in KICC, Redeemed Christian Church of God, Assemblies of God, Anglican Church, etc., etc. Church is used in a structural way, as in the building, but then church is used organismally, and that is actually the meaning. This cannot kill the Church of Jesus Christ at all, because it takes its root in the resurrected one. It takes its power from the one who died that we may live. I mean, when he left this world, he left 12 men. Today, more than 2 billion say he is Lord.
All right.
So I do not see the church dying, but I see the church evolving.
Let me quickly get this view from you in few seconds that we have.
Yes.
You wrote about the coming wealth transfer, and you wrote another book where you talked about what is wrong with being black. There is a latest book that you wrote which you called The Creative Edge, where you mentioned about, you highlighted how Africa can tap into the creative and alternative economic growth potentials. Any lesson for Nigeria this trying time?
Very huge lessons. I think coronavirus, to be very honest, have exposed two things I've always screamed about Nigeria and the whole of Africa. We have a challenge of the absence of quality leadership, with all due respect. I respect my president. I celebrate my president. I believe he's a man of integrity. But leadership in general in Africa is very weak. We have big men, but we don't have great leaders. Number two, the system is weak. Once the virus hit here and they asked people to stay home here in the United Kingdom, the government rolled out a method for managing and even making money available to people so that their salaries are even coming from the government if they've been taxpayers before, not ordering somebody that he must pay his staff when there is no business. How do we learn from this? It is time for us to reposition, not focus on oil and gas. As you can see, the price has gone down. Reposition our agriculture. Food and Agri Organization says 60% of farmable land on earth right now is in Africa. This is the time for our government to push all of us into farming. Number two, human capital development. Did you realize that most of the hospitals in the United States of America cannot be sustained without those smart Nigerian brains? Matter of fact, when the news comes up on CNN and various places, many directors of the hospitals across New York, Texas, Delaware, everywhere in America are Nigerians. We need
Pastor Matthew,
to look at... Yes, please.
Yeah. So at this critical time, we have just about 10, 15 seconds to go. What kind of word would you be giving out to a lot of millions of people who are scared to their skin right now about this pandemic? Just in about 10 seconds.
Number one, no fear. 2 Timothy 1:7. Number two, no worries. Philippians 4, verse 3 to 7. Number three, fill your heart with joy. Psalm 45, verse 1. Help will come. You will survive it. You will do Thanksgiving in church. Stay locked down. Even if they say everybody go to the street, please keep distance, because this thing is terrible, but you will survive. You will have a testimony.
We must sincerely thank you, Senior Pastor of Kingsway International Christian Center, KICC. Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo is also a renowned author. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, my privilege.
Thank you also, Mr. Tokwe Fasuwa, economist and a former presidential candidate of the NRP in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. But that's our show, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ashimolowo. Bye for now.